Welcome to Healthy Living. My name is Kayleen Cornell. I'm the Health Education Coordinator for the Purchase District Health Department. February is a month we are reminded about celebrating those that we love in our lives. We typically show our affection by giving gifts of chocolate, candy, or flowers. Well, February is also American Heart Month and should remind us all to love our heart and our brain and take care of our health for a longer and healthier life. Heart disease and diabetes tend to go hand in hand because both have some familiar and similar risk factors, such as being overweight, high cholesterol levels, low physical activity, and family history. In fact, those with diabetes are at higher risk for heart attack or stroke. Higher blood cholesterol signals a higher risk of heart attack and stroke. And today, that's what we're going to talk about. We hope that you will gain some information and some better understanding of what those labs are when you go to the doctor. Today I'm joined with Julie Muscarella and Deanna here, who also work at the health department with me. Thank you for coming today. Deanna, could you explain generally what is cholesterol?
Well, cholesterol is a fat-like substance that's found in our body. Our body also makes cholesterol, but we can also add to that cholesterol level by the foods we eat. And the more cholesterol we have in our body, the more it can clog and block the vessels that are in our body serving our important organs, such as our heart and our brain and other areas of our body. It's something to pay attention to. It's a level that we want to know what our number is and find ways that we can get that number down. Because the higher our cholesterol level is, the higher our risk for heart attack and stroke. And typically people with diabetes tend to struggle with high cholesterol levels in addition. So that's why they are so much more at risk for heart attack and stroke.
Sure. What would be the total cholesterol that a person should remember? Because there are a lot of numbers when we're talking about these.
Yes, and when someone goes to the doctor may order a lipoprotein level or lipid profile, and that's basically just checking what their cholesterol levels are. It consists of their total cholesterol, but also two components of their cholesterol, which is called their LDL, or their bad cholesterol, or the HDL, which is their good cholesterol. Now those at risk, such as those with diabetes, those who have had heart attack or stroke before, or a very high risk of having a heart attack or stroke, may see their healthcare provider order this every year. But typically those at lower risk may have this level done every 2 years. It just depends on their healthcare provider. But when we talk about our total cholesterol level in our blood, we're talking about a level we should see less than 200 milligrams per deciliter. And when we look at those two components of our cholesterol, the lousy cholesterol, or the LDL, that is the bad cholesterol. And the reason we call it the bad cholesterol is it wants to go right into the side of your vessels. It's what clogs and stops up our vessels and puts us at risk for that heart attack or that stroke. Whenever blood flow is blocked through a vessel going to our brain or our heart, that is what causes that heart attack or that stroke. So the lousy, or the LDL cholesterol, we want to see that less than 100. But people that have had heart attacks before, people that are very high risk for heart attack and stroke, they may be on cholesterol medication treatment right now, their doctors may want to see that level at 70 or lower. So what's important is the lousy cholesterol needs to be low. We want it as low as possible. Now, the good side of it is our good cholesterol. So I think, you know, our body needs cholesterol to function. So that's why we have that good component of cholesterol, and that's why our body makes it. Good cholesterol, or the HDL, we want that to be as high as we can get it. For men, we want to see that more than 40. For women, we want to see 50 or higher. It seems that the older women get, and whenever, especially we go through menopause, we lose some of that heart protection. So the higher this happy or HDL cholesterol level is, the more protective it is on our heart, and that really goes for men and women both. The higher the number, the better at protecting against a heart attack or stroke.
Yeah.
Also too, besides our total cholesterol, our LDL, the lousy cholesterol, or our HDL, or good cholesterol. They can also check for triglycerides. And triglycerides is another type of fat in the blood. We typically see triglycerides want to get higher the more weight we gain and also the older we get. So that level, we need to keep it below 150. And I think Julie's going to be sharing some things later on that will help keep that and lower that triglyceride level, as well as our other cholesterol levels as well too.
Sure. So really, it's important to know that there's not one set number, that it can vary individually as to where your risk levels are. So it's very important for everyone to talk to their doctor about what should their number be, and you know, why, and
That's right.
All right. So Julie, let's start off with some diet tips. What would you know, when we talk about the numbers, it's really hard to bring it home and really, you know, have us understand what it means to us. So, nutritionally, how should we look at it?
So the good news is that to help all those levels that Deanna was talking about, that everybody can help those numbers by having routine exercise, and also losing weight if needed, and if you smoke, get help to stop. Those are true for everybody, and for everybody who has problems with that. So before I get into the specifics of lowering this or lowering that, I just want to make sure that I make that clear, and I'm sure Deanna will say it again.
True, yeah.
Exactly. So
can't say it enough,
no,
really, you know,
cannot.
because
Exactly.
that's
Yes,
prevention.
That's right. So, and the other good news is that there are things that you can do to eat that can actually help lower the LDL, which is that lousy cholesterol. And so that involves fiber. And there's two types of fiber. There's a soluble fiber and there's an insoluble fiber. And insoluble fiber is something that is not digested by our body, something like a whole grain or something similar to this. And this is very, very important for our body. It helps the food move through the body. It helps form the stool. It's very important with any type of fiber. If you increase your fiber, make sure that you drink plenty of water. And work at it gradually. The type of fiber that actually lowers the LDL cholesterol is something called soluble fiber. So rather than talk to you about what not to eat, the first thing that I want to talk to you about is the good things that you can include in your diet that actually partner with your body to bring down that LDL cholesterol. And that's exciting. And some of these things also help your triglycerides.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
I mean,
yes.
you know that, you know, once you've told, all right, these are your numbers, there's just so much that you can do.
Yes. So some of the things that have soluble fiber that I encourage all my clients to eat routinely and regularly, and to have them in their pantries, are oats. And that is oat bran, regular oats, even instant oats. Beans, that includes kidney beans and peas. Like I've got chickpeas here that I'm showing you. Barley is important. Vegetables such as broccoli, Brussels sprouts, eggplant, lima beans, and also whole fruit rather than fruit juice. Also, you want to eat more omega-3 fats. This helps lower cholesterol. That includes things like flaxseed. You can get it either ground or flaxseed oil. And the thing about flaxseed is that you don't want to have it whole, because it is not digestible. It'll just go straight through you. But so
the seed itself isn't what you would want to be eating.
No, you just don't want to sprinkle seeds on everything, those type of flaxseed, because they're not digestible. But you'll want to make sure they're ground or the oil type. Also, walnuts are very high in these omega-3s. Some peanut butter even has it added. Canola oil, your green leafy vegetables, and then you have fatty fish from salt water, like everybody's heard of salmon. Also sardines, mackerel, herring, and albacore tuna. There's also fatty fish that have these omega-3s, and that includes rainbow trout, catfish, tilapia, and bass. So all of those are good things that you can include in your diet. Good for you foods.
Good, yeah.
And even with the omega-3s, the fats that I did mention, remember that they do have calories. So you want to be very careful that you don't over indulge in those, because you know they will add to your calorie portion that day, and you don't want to gain weight, right?
Sure, yeah.
So the other thing that you can do to lower cholesterol is to limit your trans fats and your saturated fats. What really contributes to this LDL level are the saturated fats that we eat. And that comes in particular from fatty meats, the fat portion of the meats, and also your highly processed meats like your bacon and sausage and salami. Also your high-fat dairy products such as your whole milk, your aged cheese, your creams, and also lard. And there's also some oils that are high in saturated fat. That's coconut oil, palm oil, and palm kernel oil. And of course, you know, you want to be very careful to look at labels and make sure that you know what you're eating.
Sure.
The trans fat, it's actually been outlawed in New York City. Trans fat has actually been outlawed in New York City. In other words, if a restaurant is using trans fat, then they go against the city ordinance, because it is so unhealthy that they've decided to not let restaurateurs use it at all. It's actually a commercial product for the most part. It's a manufactured fat. It's usually found in things like your solid shortening, anything that's processed with partially hydrogenated fat, like our baked goods. But typically in restaurants they use it as fats to fry and things like that. But on the package label it has to be listed, and you want to steer away from foods that are high in this, actually have any trans fat. And again, it could be in baked goods like crackers, cookies, cakes, pies, anything like that.
Sure.
And so very, very important. But remember, the main culprit for increasing that is that saturated fat that you want to omit.
Sure.
The other thing that you want to do is you want to limit your cholesterol, your foods that contain the actual cholesterol itself. And this cholesterol is found in organ meats like your liver, your sweetbreads, your heart, your kidneys, things like that. And also it's found in butter and whole milk, and your hard cheeses, your high-fat cheeses, as well as egg yolks.
Sure.
A typical egg yolk has around 200, and really you need to keep under 200, at least under 300 a day of mgs of cholesterol.
Yeah.
Related foods.
And I think what you said with the whole milks, you know, our cholesterol starts building in childhood. So the whole milk, you know, is important to cut for children too. I mean, it's just not when you get to adult you need to be worrying about it. You know, you need to be worrying about your, you know, the foods with high fats for all ages.
Children under the age of 2 can have whole milk, and they need it for proper nerve development. But
after that, then you know they need to. What else besides the
LDL? Yeah. So okay. So what about lowering triglycerides?
Right.
So triglycerides are a very interesting part of the body, because it actually makes the blood more sticky. It's very, very important that we understand the importance of getting that number under 150. And how we do that is by eating frequent meals. You also want to bake, steam, broil, or grill foods rather than fry it. And again, you're going to want to limit your portion sizes of foods that have your saturated fats. If you drink alcohol, you want to decrease or cut the amount, because even small amounts of alcohol raise those triglyceride levels. Triglycerides, it has to do a lot with sugar as well. So you don't want to have sugar intake, including cakes, pies. You want to limit your whole fruits to 2 per day. And when we have people in our classes that are trying to get their triglycerides down. I even suggest no fruit juices at all and no sweetened beverages, because it's very, very sensitive to sugar and to excess calories in our diet. That's what the triglyceride reads.
Yeah.
And again, eat more of those omega-3 fats that I mentioned that can help lower the triglyceride levels. So, and lower the intake of your cholesterol, your saturated fats, and your trans fats. So, again, the triglyceride level can come down. The one thing that I haven't mentioned yet, not diet related, but the medications that you take to bring down your blood fats, they need to be taken exactly as your doctor has directed. Very, very important. So.
Because some medications should be with food, some, you know, at different times of the day, and you know.
And the other thing that I haven't mentioned is how to increase your HDL level, that happy cholesterol that Deanna was talking about. And that HDL cholesterol can be improved by routine physical activity. And that is the best way to bring it up. Also, when you lower your weight to the proper amount if necessary, then that helps that HDL. So that makes it happy. And also the stop smoking. If you smoke, get help to stop. So those are the way that you improve that HDL.
So when we go to the doctor, we get the labs done, and they said, these are your numbers. We all would prefer to have less medication. No one ever wants to go on medication, you know, and these are just great ways of being able to prevent yourself from, you know, having to go on medications. What kind of exercise? You know, we talk about exercise, but it really has to be a specific type of exercise rather than, you know, just this casual walk, and counting that as, although any type of you know, movement is really physical activity. However, if you're going to, you know, lose weight, or if you're going to, you know, achieve certain goals, there has to be certain kind of exercise. What would you, you know, recommend for someone who wants to lose weight? What kind of physical activity should they be thinking of?
Right. Being more active is certainly key if you want to help achieve those goals, such as, you know, not only lowering your blood cholesterol, but lowering your blood pressure, lowering your blood sugar, and maintaining a healthy weight. It's something for everybody to do, whether you're at risk for heart disease or stroke or not. And I like to think of exercise as a medication. It is something, just as if you had to take your medication every day to help lower your blood cholesterol or your sugar or your blood pressure, you need to take that medication of being active and having physical activity every day. And we want to build up to 30 minutes every day on most days of the week. And what kind of activities we're talking about is regular aerobic activities. These are activities that actually get your heart beating a little faster, get you breathing a little heavier, but we build up to that. We don't want someone to start out just doing 30 minutes if they have never been active before, because then that's going to cause them to be sore, it's going to cause them to be very fatigued from that, and then they're not going to want to do that.
Sure.
So start slow. And you're right, any activity is good as far as taking more steps in your day and being more active and moving more, but having a regular scheduled time and doing some of these aerobic activities, such as walking at a moderate pace. You could jog, you could ride a bike, swimming, and even some of our working outdoors and doing our chores outside can be regular, such as our raking our leaves, sweeping. Those are all things that can really give us some aerobic activity, vacuuming, and doing some housework. But it's very important that we have that every day, and start out, even if it's 5 minutes a day, that is better than 0 minutes at all. So you want to start out at 5 minutes and work your way up each week, adding just a little more. The more you do it, the easier it'll get.
That's right, and you build your stamina too.
That's right. You're going to have more energy, you're going to feel better, and I'll tell people, you know, at first don't watch as far as your weight numbers so much, because you're going to see your blood pressure, your blood sugar, your blood cholesterol levels, and just in general how you feel. You're going to see that happen first before you see the number on that scale go down. So hang in there. You will get so used to it that your body will actually miss it when you don't get to do your regular daily exercise. But I encourage people, think of that exercise as your medication that you've got to take every day to sustain your life, because it really is important for everybody.
Right, yeah. And I think, you know, we hear people say, well, I really can't do this because my knees hurt, or, you know, but like you said, just a little bit and, you know, work up. And I think people would be surprised just how they can start changing, you know, their ability of, you know, what they can, and their tolerance of what they can do.
That's true. And you mentioned something very important. There are people that have some aches and pains, some pre-existing health problems, especially if they've been overweight some time. They may have some bones and joints and problems like that. They need to check with their healthcare provider on the activities that might be right for them. There's a lot of great activities they can do sitting, and there's some activities they can do in the water that would be a lot easier. So I tell people, talk with your healthcare provider for that reason, and let them know, because you do want to be safe when you're doing it. And if they already have had some history of some health problems, and there's some exercises that may not be right for them, but everybody can exercise.
Sure, absolutely.
Everybody, no matter if you have to do it from a chair, or if you can't stand up for long periods, there is an exercise for you. So just talk with your healthcare provider and find out where you can get started, and I believe they'll feel so much better, and they will actually get more mobility and probably have less aches and pains when they do start moving more.
Right, yeah, that just helps the fluid around the joints, and it also helps your balance, you know, the more you're exercising and
That's right.
moving about.
It will prevent further injury, it will prevent and lower your risk for falls. So.
Sure, yeah. Well, you know, because I know when you think of exercise, you think, well, going to the club, but there's a lot more exercise than just, you know, going to the club. So, you know, I think everyone needs to be encouraged to step out. As far as we've talked about, you know, if you're smoking, and, you know, how can you quit smoking? What are some ways that our community provides resources for that?
Oh, well, yes. We have a lot of resources provided for those who use even tobacco. It's not just smoking, it's any tobacco use that affects our body. What happens is what makes up that's in the tobacco use, so cigarette, a lot of the chemicals can affect our body in this way. It causes our blood vessels to get smaller. And if our blood vessels are already having smaller blood flow because we have that extra plaque collecting on the inside, and then they're even smaller themselves, that further increases the risk for their heart attack or stroke, cutting that blood supply off to a very vital part of our body. So finding some help to stop smoking or stop our tobacco use is so important. And I know a lot of times we have people that come to our classes for diabetes learning sessions. We will tell them, make that your first goal. If you are willing and you are ready, then let's talk to your healthcare provider about your options, what you can do. Through your healthcare provider, there are medications that can help, because it is a very strong addiction, and the body will have some withdrawal symptoms, so they may need some medication to help with that, to slowly wean them off of that, or those nicotine patches, the lozenges, gum, whatever works best for them. And they say that it takes up to 15 times for someone to actually quit, 15 tries. So don't give up if you've tried before. You can do it when it's right for you and if you've got the right resources.
Sure.
So not only talking to our doctor about how he can help us, we can contact our local health department, because we offer smoking cessation classes, and they're offered in most of our counties that we have, if not all of them. So they can call their health department, find out the class schedule that's upcoming, and any resources that we could have to get in their hands right then if there's
Mm-hmm.
not a class coming up soon. And the most important thing that they can do that's available 24 hours a day is call our 1-800-QUIT-NOW smoke-free hotline. That is manned by trained professionals and counselors that know exactly what ways they can support you, and you contact them and they will contact you as much as you want them to, but they have resources right at their hand to help you when you are having those cravings, when you are having those troubles and trying to get through, and when you need a little bit of extra help. It is so important that our state has that 1-800-QUIT-NOW to help people stop with their tobacco use. And so that is a wonderful resource.
Absolutely.
And I encourage it and pass it along all the time for people to give that a try.
Right.
And check those resources out.
Yeah, and I know now between now and July, if they call that line, if you are eligible, that you're able to get a nicotine replacement from them for a couple months. So it definitely is a good time to call if people are thinking they want to quit.
That's right.
All right. So as we come to a close here of all the different things that we've talked about, Julie, what would you say would be, when you think of all the things that we've talked about, the soluble fibers and the omega-3s and all that, what would be one or two of the foods that you would recommend that everyone should really have in their grocery cart when
I do have
going grocery
examples. Thank you. I do have examples here that I use all the time, and just easy ways that you can. Another thing that a question that we get asked all the time in our classes is, what's the best type of margarine? And just know that the harder the margarine, like a stick margarine, is going to have more saturated fat, but a liquid margarine is going to be more unsaturated, and the body's going to recognize it more. Also, people say, what's the best kind of oil? Well, regardless of what oil you use, don't use very much.
Sure.
And so that and some type of vegetable oil. It can be safflower oil, sunflower oil, canola oil, but use some type of vegetable oil. And so be very, very careful with the amount of oil. And so the other thing is about there's different types of unsaturated fats that are good for you, and one of them is something called a monounsaturated fat, and that's actually in peanut butter. And I've got an example of natural peanut butter here. And in all my classes we talk, and I make many converts to this natural peanut butter. It has oil at the top, so you do have to mix it in with the butter below, the peanut butter.
Right.
But the ingredients are actually peanuts and salt.
And that's, I think, what we need to remember when we're looking at foods. With you really need to keep it more natural, the better for you.
Closer to the farm, better for the body.
Absolutely.
Closer to the farm, better for the body. Commercial peanut butter actually has a lot of shortening added, a lot of sugar added. It's actually more like a peanut spread. And it's actually high in saturated fat.
Yeah.
So go toward the more natural peanut butter. And again, I brought an example.
Yeah, that's great.
Right.
Well, thank you for coming and talking about this important information. And I just hopefully you have learned the importance of having your cholesterol levels and those labs done at the doctor's office, and hopefully you understand a little bit more now when your doctor tells you what your levels are. We want to make that choice of having a healthier living, and make February your month for having a healthier life. Thank you for watching our show. We'll see you next time.